Hey guys, Joshua Gundam here, and today we're looking at my custom built Gundam Msia action figure, the GM 1.5. And for those of you who don't know all your MSA all that well, you may actually have a hard time picking this guy out. But he is the guy in the middle. Oh yeah, I built him, and I'm really excited about it. Basically, my problem was this. The GM version 1. Pretty cool figure, but, you know, it's a version 1. It has the limits of the version 1s. Its articulation isn't all that great, and sometimes its arms fall off depending on your version 1. You know, it's sometimes they stay on really well, and sometimes they fall off. Just kind of like the Dom version 1. You know, you get a good one or you get a... just needs some work, I guess. I'm learning ways to actually improve that problem. And I'll still use this guy in animation, but I want something a little bit better. Just did. And then there's the GM version 2. The ridiculously expensive, ridiculously rare, and incredibly awesome GM version 2. Double jointed, comes with a launch, which I only have one of sadly, but I have like 5 GM version 2s. Which is pretty good, but still, you know, I wanted more GMs. I'm greedy. What can I say? You know? The GM version 2, pretty awesome figure, but still, I wanted more. So, I got to thinking, how could I make a regular GM? What do I have that can be turned into that? What do I have that I can spare? Now, any of you who have collected Gundams for a while know that the Gundam version 1.5 is fairly common. And I'm just going to get these guys out of the way. Gundam version 1.5 is fairly common. And, you know, it's the RX-78. You don't need 2 of them in your collection, and at times I've had like 5 of them in my collection. You know? And so I was like, you know, this guy is kind of the basis for the GM anyways. They're very common, very usual. And so what I did was I removed the head, and I replaced it with a ground-type GM head to start off with. And I said, yeah, I think I can do this. So first I'm going to tell you how I built this guy, and then I'm going to go over the articulation. Because I know that a lot of you would be interested in building one of these. So what I used was a GM ground-type head. Cut off its little chinny chin, drilled some head Vulcans in, and yeah. It's a perfect GM head. Comparison of the heads. Another comparison of the heads. You can see it's a really good match. Now the cockpit's slightly different. So I didn't have any epoxy putty at the time, so I filled it in with super glue. No, first I filled it in with Gorilla Glue, but that ended up with bubbles and stuff. I filled those in with super glue, and filled them in again with super glue, and then I sanded it down. Next time I'll use epoxy putty, just because it works a lot faster and a lot better. But, did that. Another change was to the backpack. Same backpack, except that I cut this part off right here, and I took a piece from the Burning Gundam's wings. It's an internal piece of the backpack, and I glued that on there because storing weapons is awesome. You see that on the version 1, but not on the version 2. A little thing for storing weapons that doesn't actually work. Ooh, you know, the detail's nice, but if you can't use it, it's kind of a waste. And so, yeah, now I can just reach up and grab his weapon. Stores it just like they did in Gundam Crossfire. A little difference I'll probably make next time is I'll trim this ball joint down so it's more flat. Doesn't stretch the plastic out so much. Because if it was flat it wouldn't. But the ball joint does help keep the gun on. And of course I kept one beam saber hilt in. The neck, same neck as the ground type Gundam. Or not the ground type Gundam, just the Gundam 1.5. I kept the neck the same. The core block system's still in there. But you just pretend that it's not, which it can also make a cool cut in half. Like, this guy might get cut in half in animation, and be cool. Something else I did was I took a hobby knife, I cut off his pockets, I cut off the front piece. Did that on the sides. Did it on the back, which meant cutting off a lot of this. And then I sanded it down. This is my first real attempt at a lot of serious cutting, so it was a pretty big deal. The feet are exactly the same, but the knees are different, as you can see. So what I did was I took off the leg and I turned it upside down and I cut the knee off so it was flat like a GM's. Now, GM variations, you know, have some differences. Find our GM version 2. He has flat knees. So you can see a good matchup. I had my wife pick out colors for it, and got these from Vallejo Paints. They're a wargaming paint. If I'm right, I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. Model color Vallejo. Oops, sorry. Vallejo. These are really great paints. I really recommend them. I've tried a lot of things. I've tried Tamiya paints. Tamiya's good, but it's a bit thick. You know, these folk arts, these are little Walmart brands. They're really cheap. These have the same consistency, but they're better, and so it's pretty awesome. It's like the nice middle ground of awesome paint. All the benefits of the apple barrel and full cart, and the benefits of coating well and covering well like Tamiya. So, awesome paint. So
However, Tamiya dries very quickly when you open the jar. It's in a jar instead of... This has a tiny little spout.
Yeah, this has a nice little spout.
So
you can't see that.
You can get out a very small amount of paint and not have to waste as much. Whereas the Tamiya, you have a jar, and so you have to pour some. If you don't pour it, you'll ruin all your paint. You have to pour from the jar. Don't keep it in there while you're painting it. Just
well, that's what I do.
Dries,
but I
dries way too fast.
I don't use Tamiya anymore, so, you know.
But I really like the Vallejo. Also, if you do use Tamiya, the gloss coats better than the flat does, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, okay, this isn't a painting video, this is GM 1.5. Sarah helps paint a lot of my figures. She paints the Oxel Gundams and things like that. So, he's compatible with all GM weaponry. Bullpup machine gun would be compatible with the bazooka. The only thing he can't do is lock the bazooka in the back there, which I might actually leave that little spot there next time so that he can. See that there? It's pretty good paint, doesn't scratch too easily. I'm quite pleased with it. I really am. And he looks really tough. Looks just like a GM should. So I'm very, very excited about this. Let's go over the articulation. Comes with a shield. Same shield that comes with the Gundam version 1.5. Didn't need to paint the shield at all, because it already had the right color scheme. The color that I used was green-gray. Seemed to be the best matchup. Hands turned 360 degrees, elbow joint, slight backwards bend to it. Arm turns 360 degrees, shoulder joint, decent flexibility, shoulders stay on well. Head turns 360 degrees, looks up and down just slightly. Beam saber comes out. You could put a beam saber blade in there. I just don't have one handy. Waist can turn 360 degrees if you want it to. The boosters do get in the way a little bit, but this paint is fairly durable and doesn't really bend out too much. So I'm quite pleased with that. Yeah. Just checking something real quick. For better or for worse, my little fill-in right there just came out. And I think that might be for the better. Yes, it is for the better. Aw, it's just not big enough. if you cut that short, it's just not going to hold. So I'm going to put my little piece back in there and go over it with super glue later. Apparently it popped out, but, you know, still awesome. I probably wouldn't spin them around 360 degrees just because it's going to tear up the paint just a smidge, but the paint's fairly durable. I clear coated him with acrylic spray coat. Legs go that far forwards, that far back. Knee joint, leg joint, or, you know, joint there. These move a little bit. They're a little loose because when you paint stuff, it kind of solidifies the plastic a little bit more and gives it a little less give, so I have to stretch out the holes just a smidge so I can get those leg covers back in there the way they should be. Shield can go on either side. Boosters are still flexible, so very nice. Let me know what you think of the GM 1.5. I think it looks just like a regular GM, so I am really proud about this. You know, it doesn't have the flexibility of a version 2, but it's nice, it's durable, and I think it looks really good. And it's going to go along really well in our series. And the reason why this figure is so incredibly important is because it's the test bed for all future GM variants. If I can make a GM out of other Gundam MSA action figures, then that means that I can build a GM D-type, which I have. He's the next to be painted. And his neck isn't glued in yet, but let's see the GM. Whoops. The GM D-type. Lots of differences there. After the GM D-type, I am working on a GM Kai, which is coming along okay. His legs are a bit loose, so he needs some work. And then after that, GM Command, followed by the GM Sniper 2. That is my plan. Slowly, I will build my GM army. It's the job of us custom builders to come up with all the variants that they never made. Remember, just because they didn't make certain figures doesn't mean you have to settle. Just make your own. Let me know what you think of the GM 1.5. Catch you guys later.